Alright, the LMB of Mexico is holding its annual All-Star Game this Sunday, June 18th at Estadio Parque Centenario 27 de Febrero in Tabasco. It'll be the first major professional baseball league to hold its All-Star Game this summer. If you don't normally follow the LMB, this will be a good guide to who the best players are in the Mexican League this year, and it'll help if you want to keep up the rest of the season. After all, the LMB will also be the first to start its playoffs at the beginning of August, and the first to hold its championship series, the Serie del Rey, in September. All that while the other leagues are still in their regular season. Even if you don't plan on following the rest of the summer, it's good to know who the star players in Mexico are, because some of them end up back in the Major League system, or in the Asian leagues. Just last week, Didi Gregorius, who was supposed to take part in the LMB All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby, signed with the Seattle Mariners in hope of getting back into MLB. So you won't see him at the LMB All-Star Game, but you will see plenty of stars, some who've already played at the Major League level, some who may get back there soon. If you're only going to watch one LMB event all summer, this should be it. It's got all the best players in Mexico playing together in a single game. If you do follow the LMB, leave a comment and let us know who you think will win, north or south, who the MVP might be, who is not on either roster but you think should be. Here's a quick look at the standings so you can see what's gone on in the season's first half. In the north, Toros de Tijuana at 30-18 are the leader. Algodoneros de Unión Laguna trail by only half a game. Third place, Sultanes de Monterrey is just a game and a half back. Fourth place, Acereros de Monclova. Fifth place, Tecolotes de los Dos Laredos. Number 6, Generales de Durango. Number 7, Rieleros de Aguascalientes, tied with Seraperos de Saltillo. And Mariachis de Guadalajara are the last team. The top 6 teams make the playoffs, only the bottom 3 are out. So at least in the north, even the last place team is close in the playoff race. The South is led by Olmecas de Tabasco, and you'll see more All-Star selections for this team than any other. Diablos Rojos del Mexico are the second place team, 3 games behind Tabasco. Throughout the video, you'll hear me refer to teams by the name of the city or state they represent, but with this team I usually just call them Rojos. I just don't feel right calling a team by the same name as the country. Third is Pericos de Puebla, 6 games behind second place Rojos. Fourth, defending champions Leones de Yucatan. 5, El Águila de Veracruz. 6, Guerreros de Oaxaca and Tigres de Quintana Roo. 8, Bravos de León, and 9, Piratas de Campeche. Another rough season for León and Campeche. Those two also had the league's worst record a year ago. Alright, we'll start with the north team, starting behind the plate and working our way outward. One catcher is Tomas Telis of Dos Laredos, switch-hitting Venezuelan, former Texas Rangers and Miami Marlins player. His line at the moment is .364, .408, .443. He was also one of the best hitters in Venezuela last winter, and had a .365 on-base percentage at AAA Oklahoma City last summer. One other catcher, 25-year-old Juan Uriarte of Durango. He's hitting .331, .383, .492 with 5 home runs at this time. 36-year-old Cuban first baseman Henry Urrutia of Saltillo played for the Baltimore Orioles years ago. He was the LMB batting champion last summer, and the Lidom batting champion in the Dominican Republic last winter. This season doesn't look like he'll win another batting title, but he's got a respectable .299 average, on base .358, slugging .482, with 8 home runs. 25-year-old second baseman Michael Robles of Durango. His line is .370, .456, .500. Those numbers are actually down from a year ago, so he's capable of doing even better. Also a proficient base stealer, a perfect 7 for 7. Another second baseman, 33-year-old Venezuelan Ali Castillo of Dos Laredos, a AAA Phillies prospect last year, and a regular in the Venezuelan League, where he's usually one of the top hitters. He's having a great first year in the LMB, where he's hitting .328, .356, .397. 31-year-old Jeffrey Marte. If you don't remember him with the Detroit Tigers or LA Angels several years ago, you might remember him with the Hanshin Tigers the last 4 years. A couple years ago he hit 22 home runs for Hanshin. Now he's with Durango, where he's hitting .331, .448, .511 with 4 home runs. He's played at first and third almost equally this season, just a little more at third. Also at third base, 30-year-old left-handed hitting Rodolfo Amador of Monclova. Not much power or speed, but he can hit the ball. .307, .375, .423. 32-year-old shortstop Jack Mayfield, LA Angels a year ago, Toros de Tijuana this year. His first season in the LMB is going well, hitting .349, .412, .517 with 4 home runs and 13 doubles, averaging almost a double every 3 games. Didi Gregorius was supposed to be the other shortstop, but he's been replaced by 28-year-old Roberto Valenzuela of Monterrey, a decent hitter, .264, .351, .297 with 5 stolen bases. In the outfield, we've got 24-year-old Fernando Villegas of Saltillo, presently the league batting leader with an average of .406, on base .462, slugging .616, with 7 home runs. 38-year-old Cuban left-handed batter Felix Perez of Tijuana, the league leader in home runs with 15. 1 year ago, he hit 38, presently slashing .258, .397, .583. 29-year-old Jose Cardona of Monterrey, one of the LMP's best hitters and base stealers last winter. He's carried it over into the summer. .320, .361, .399 with 14 steals. 34-year-old Rainel Rosario of Saltillo played for the Hiroshima Carp years ago and for the Uni Lions in the CPBL last year. This season he's got 10 home runs, putting him in the league's top 10. Line is .358, .465, .649. Top 10 in on-base percentage, number 3 in slugging. 23-year-old Randy Romero of Guadalajara, second year in the LMB but first with Guadalajara. Last year he played for Tabasco. He's hitting .344, .361, .471 with 14 steals. Okay, on to the starting pitchers. 26-year-old Venezuelan Nivaldo Rodriguez, a Houston Astros pitcher just 2 years ago, now with Monterrey, where he's thrown 49 innings in 9 starts, ERA .239, WHIP .1041. 24-year-old lefty Faustino Carrera of Tijuana, 9 starts, 44 1/3 innings, ERA .264, WHIP .1263, and a record of 5-2. 33-year-old American pitcher Nick Struck of Tijuana, now in his 6th season in LMB, but only his 2nd with Toros. 9 starts, 52 innings, ERA .277, WHIP .1212, and a record of 4-0. 31-year-old American Kevin McCarthy, a Kansas City Royals pitcher a few years ago, now with Dos Laredos. In 9 starts, 47 2/3 innings, he's got a .340 ERA, a WHIP of .1469, and a record of 6-3. 34-year-old Nicaraguan J.C. Ramirez pitched for the Angels a few years ago. Nowadays, you can find him in Monterrey. This season, he's made 10 starts, 55 1/3 innings, ERA .439, WHIP .1446, and a record of 6-3. In the bullpen, former Yomiuri Giants and Nippon Ham Fighters pitcher Wirfin Obispo, now 38 and pitching for Monclova. 17 appearances, 18 1/3 innings, ERA .0.98, WHIP .1200. 27-year-old Isaac Jimenez of Durango, 18 games, 22 innings, ERA .123, WHIP .864, and 8.6 strikeouts per 9. 32-year-old Jeff Brossard, a promising Cincinnati Reds prospect at one time, now with Dos Laredos. He's made 24 relief appearances, ERA .105, WHIP .857. 32-year-old RJ Alanese pitched at the big league level for the Cincinnati Reds a couple years ago, now pitches for Monclova. 17 games, 20 innings, ERA .180, WHIP .1100. 25-year-old lefty Luis Marquez of Tijuana, 14 appearances, ERA .213, WHIP .947, 18 strikeouts in 12 2/3 innings, for a strikeouts per 9 rate of 12.8. 24-year-old Jose Luna of Aguascalientes, 17 appearances with an ERA of .220, WHIP a little high at .1592, and he's got 5 saves. 31-year-old Dominican lefty Luis Gonzalez of Monterrey, 20 games, 18 1/3 innings, ERA .295, WHIP .1255. Another Monterrey reliever, they've got some good pitching there. Left-hander Jesus Martinez, at 19 years of age, he's the youngest player in the LMB All-Star game. 21 games, 18 2/3 innings, ERA .289, that's down from .559 in his rookie season last year, WHIP .857. 29-year-old American Thomas McIlraith of Laguna. In his first LMB season, he's made 17 appearances, ERA .371, WHIP .1294, struck out 25 batters in 17 innings for a K9 rate of 13.2, and recorded 8 saves. Altogether, there are 5 selections from Monterrey and Tijuana, 4 from Durango and Dos Laredos, 3 from Saltillo and Monclova, 2 from Laguna, and 1 each from Aguascalientes and Guadalajara. For most teams, it looks like the number of All-Stars is proportionate to their place in the standings. 2 exceptions, though. Laguna looks underrepresented while Durango looks overrepresented. But the best teams don't always have the star players. The teams with the biggest stars aren't always the best teams. Now we head to the south. Just as we did in the north, we'll start behind the plate. 39-year-old catcher Jose Francisco Cordoba of Diablos Rojos played in almost every game this year. His line is .288, .344, .468 with 4 home runs. Another catcher, 26-year-old Alexis Wilson of Quintana Roo. Hitting is not quite so good, batting .227 with a .287 on-base percentage. but he's got power, slugging .364 with 5 home runs. At first base, they've got 28-year-old left-handed hitter Roberto Ramos. If you follow the KBO, you might remember him with the LG Twins, where he hit 38 home runs back in 2020. This year with Rojos, he's hitting .331, .424, .677 with 11 home runs, second in the league in slugging and OPS, tied for 6th in home runs. There's also 40-year-old Jesse Castillo of Tabasco. He's been playing in the LMB since 2005. This year he's hitting .252, .362, .440 with 8 homers and 8 steals. 35-year-old second baseman Alberto Carreon in his second year at Tabasco after more than a decade at Puebla. He's hitting .273, .309, .367. At short, they've got 35-year-old switch hitter Gustavo Nunez from Veracruz, currently second in the LMB in stolen bases with 21. He's hitting .317, .358, .382. 27-year-old shortstop Jason Atondo of Tabasco. Right now he's hitting .299, .344, .395 with 5 steals. 28-year-old switch hitting third baseman Moises Gutierrez of Rojos. He also plays at second a lot, so he could be used there, but more often at third. His line is .286, .397, .539 with 8 home runs. 34-year-old left-handed batter Emmanuel Avila started the season with Rojos but now plays at Oaxaca. Like Gutierrez, he spends a lot of time at second but more time at third. At the moment, he's hitting .286, .352, .460. In the outfield, 28-year-old left-handed Curaçaoan hitter Ademar Rafaela of Oaxaca ranks 5th in the LMB with 12 home runs, and he's hitting .333, .384, .579. 27-year-old left-handed hitter Julian Ornelas is putting up some big numbers with Rojos. .357, .447, .577. 7 home runs and 5 steals, and his 15 doubles are tied for 5th in the LMB. Yadir Drake, a 33-year-old Cuban hitter who once played for the Nippon Ham Fighters of NPB, now with Yucatan. He's hitting .348, .437, .471. 26-year-old American Calvin Estrada of León. First LMB season, he played independent ball last year. He is hitting .341, .421, .444. 35-year-old Cuban Roel Santos, a left-handed hitter who played for the Chibolote Marines of NPB several years ago. Now he's with Tabasco. This year he's hitting .293, .370, .449. Not bad, but down from last year when he batted over .400. And now for the pitchers. 33-year-old Venezuelan Yoimer Camacho of Puebla. 9 starts, 52 2/3 innings, ERA 171, WHIP 1158, and a perfect record of 7-0, tied for the league lead in wins. Interestingly, Camacho never made it past the single-A level in the major league system, pitched in the Italian league for a few years, struggled in Venezuela for a while, but has now turned it around and is having the best season of his career. 33-year-old lefty Juan Pablo Oramas of Tabasco. He'll be back in his hometown for the All-Star game. 9 games, 50 2/3 innings, ERA 213, WHIP 1164, and a record of 4-1. He's been one of the top pitchers in the summer and winter leagues of Mexico for several years now. 27-year-old Colombian Luis Escobar, a Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher 4 years ago, now with Tabasco. 9 starts, 52 1/3 innings, ERA 258, WHIP 1127, and a record of 6-2. 27-year-old American Hector Sepulveda of Puebla, 9 starts, 47 innings, ERA 268, WHIP 1340. 28-year-old Oaxaca pitcher Luis Miranda, 8 starts, 45 2/3 innings, ERA 374, WHIP 1292. Another comeback story here. He had an ERA of 9.64 in Guadalajara last year. He had been struggling for several years. Then he turned it all around and became the best pitcher in the LMP last winter, and has now carried it over into the summer. 33-year-old Venezuelan Anderson Alvarez, an all-star with the Miami Marlins in 2014 when he tossed 3 shutouts, now plays at Yucatan. He's made 7 starts, 34 2/3 innings, ERA 441, WHIP 1413. 26-year-old Francisco Aro of Campeche, 9 starts, 52 innings, ERA 502, WHIP 1269, and a record of 1-4, third in the LMB in strikeouts with 55. In the bullpen, 38-year-old Fernando Salas, a 10-year Major League veteran, last appeared for the Phillies in 2019. Now he pitches for Tabasco. In 21 relief appearances, he's recorded a league-leading 16 saves, ERA 174, WHIP 919. 37-year-old lefty Alejandro Soto of Veracruz, 3 starts and 7 relief appearances totaling 32 innings, ERA 141, WHIP 875. The next 4 relievers are all American. 39-year-old lefty Derek Loop of Tabasco, 24 relief appearances, ERA .201, WHIP .1299, 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, averaging almost 1 per inning. 25-year-old Alex Tovalan of Yucatan, 25 appearances, ERA .256, WHIP .1056. 37-year-old Raul Baron of Quintana Roo, a former position player in the Blue Jays system, later converted to a pitcher in Mexico. This year he's appeared 25 times with an ERA of .266 and a 13.10 WHIP. And 30-year-old lefty Aaron Brown of Rojos, first year in the LMB. Last year he pitched at AAA Las Vegas. 15 games, ERA .287, WHIP .1149. One more, 23-year-old Esteban Bloca of Oaxaca, 24 appearances, ERA .396, WHIP .1600. The top 2 in the standings are also the top 2 in All-Star reps, 8 from Tabasco and 5 from Diablos Rojos. 4 from Oaxaca. They are not one of the top 4 teams in the South, but they are well represented here. 3 from Yucatan, 2 each from Quintana Roo, Puebla, and Veracruz. Just 1 each from the 2 teams at the bottom of the standings, León and Campeche. And that's it, the 56 players chosen for the 2023 LMB All-Star Game. If you're able to watch it, don't miss it. It's sure to be a good one. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya!